All right, this is part 2 of our hyperbola lesson. In this next example, you'll notice that a few things are different. One, there's no denominators, and two, the right side isn't equal to 1. So the way that we're going to make that happen is we just divide everything by that number on the right. So now I do have a 1 on the right side, and then when I simplify these fractions, then I will have my a squared and b squared denominators. 9 goes into 32, 36 times. And 4 goes into 324, 81 times. So now we can tell that because x squared is listed first, that this hyperbola goes left and right. So this is my a squared and b squared, so a equals 6, b equals 9. So then c squared is a squared plus b squared, so that's 36 plus 81, which is 117. So then we square root both sides, and c is the square root of 117, also approximately 10.8. So we'll use 10.8 so we can count on our grid. All right, so there's still no h or k value, so my center is 0, 0. So I'm going to graph that. Remember, A gets me my vertices. So if A is 6, and I know that this is a horizontal orientation, then I'm going to count to the right 6, for a vertex, and to the left 6. And this is my center. And then the C value, 10.8, gives me my foci location. So I'm going to go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.8 somewhere here. 10.8 somewhere here. And now let's do our ordered pairs. For our vertices, we changed the x direction, so that changes our h value or x coordinate. We went in the positive and negative 6 direction. For my foci, we went positive and negative 10.8 directions. So next we want our slope and our equation. So remember that the slope is some combination of b over a over b, and that slope is rise over run. So since we counted left and right for a, then that's my run situation. We run left and right. So 6 is my denominator, which means the b value is my numerator. This is a plus or minus version, and we're going to simplify to 3/2. So my equation, there's no hk to take care of, so it's just y equals plus or minus 3/2 x. So I'm going to graph those asymptotes from the center. So up 3, right 2, also down 3, left 2. And then the negative version, down 3, right 2, up 3, left 2. And then we draw our shape starting at the vertex and expanding to meet those asymptotes. And there is that problem. All right, on this last example, we have to do even more work to get this in the proper form. On example 3, we just had to divide everything by 324. But here what we need to do, this is our standard form for our conics, but we are going to have to group the x's together, group the y's, and do completing the square. So that's going to be what we have to do before we can start the rest of this work. So let's put our x's together. 9x squared, positive 36x, negative 4y squared, positive 8y. And then we have our constant out here. So before we can complete the square, we have to divide off by the leading coefficient in each group. So the leading coefficient in the first group is 9, and in the second group is negative 4. So I'm going to start by dividing those out in the front. So this rewrites as 9 times x squared plus 4x. And I'm going to leave a space here because I'm going to complete the square in a minute. Then here we have minus 4 times y squared minus 2y, leave a space. And then after this minus 4, I'm going to leave some room because whatever I add here, whatever I'm going to add or subtract here, I need to do the opposite here to keep it balanced. Whatever you do inside the parentheses, you need to undo outside the parentheses. So remember, for completing the square, you take your b value, divide by 2, and then square it. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Now I'm not really adding 4, I'm adding 9 4s. So 9 times 4 is 36. That's positive. So over here I'm going to do it negative. In this group, my b is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. But I'm multiplying that by whatever's in the front of the group. So negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. The opposite of that is plus 4. So that plus 4, this negative 4 cancels. All right, so now we need to rewrite the trinomials as binomials squared. So, you could think about it as factoring, multiplies to 4 and add to 4, and it's 2 and 2. Also remember that 2 is the same value we got when we divided by 2 at the first part of completing the square. For the second group, you can rewrite it as y minus 1 squared. This negative 36, I'm going to move to the right by adding it. All right, so we've completed the squares. The last thing we need is to make the right side equal to 1. So we're going to divide both sides by 36 and simplify these fractions. So 9 over 36 is 4, or simplifies to 1/4 rather. 4 over 36 simplifies to 1/9, and then we have 1. So here's my equation that I'm going to be graphing. So x is listed first, therefore this is a left-right orientation, horizontal. A squared is 4, so a is 2, b is 3. C squared is a squared plus b squared, which is 13. So c is the square root of 13, which is approximately 3.6. All right, so let's start graphing. Now this is the first time we have an HK value. So my center is -2, +1. So I'm going to graph that. And then to find my vertices, we take our A value, we're going to count 2 to the right, 2 to the left, from the center. So my ordered pairs this time are different. It's not as easy as doing the plus or minus. If you're looking at your formula sheet, it's H plus or minus your A value. So h plus or minus 2. The first vertex I did to the right is 0, 1. And the vertex to the left is negative 4, 1. For our foci, we're going to be counting the C value to the right and left, so that's 3.6. So I'm going to go to the right, 3.6. So that first one is 1.61. And then from the center, I'm going to be counting to the left, 3.6. And that is negative 5.61. So now we're going to figure out our slope for our asymptotes. Remember, slope is rise over run. It's either A over B or B over A. Since we had to count left and right for A because of the orientation, I know that A is my run value. So A was 2, so that's the denominator, the run, and rise is going to be my 3. So let's go ahead and graph that. We'll do the equation last, but we can do our asymptotes now. So starting at the center, I'm going to do positive 3 over 2 first. So rise up 3 over 2, and then back to my center and go down 3, left 2. So there's my first asymptote. Now I'm going to do negative 3 over 2. So starting at my center, I'm going to go down 3, right 2, back to my center, I'm going to go up 3, left 2. And then graphing my hyperbola shape, starting at the vertex and going out towards the asymptotes. So now the equation for the hyperbolas hold on, I thought it was on the front. Let me find the formula sheet so you can see. So here's our horizontal oriented equation for our asymptotes. Y equals K plus or minus B over A times X minus H. For vertical or up and down orientation, the slope would be A over B. So all I'm going to do is plug in my K value here, my H value here, and my slope. So Y equals K, which was 1, plus or minus my slope times X minus my H value, which was negative 2, so that's going to make this a plus 2. And there is the end of the video.